Streets Unplugged by the Luxembourg Street Photo Collective.
Well, good morning and welcome to this new episode of Streets Unplugged. Very happy that you're listening in. We are recording here from the Light Leaks Festival in Luxembourg. And for this episode, we are very happy to welcome one of our guest speakers here in Luxembourg, Markus Jokela.
Thank you.
Hi, Markus. For our listeners, could you just present yourself a little bit?
Well, I'm Markus Jokela. I'm a photographer living in Helsinki, in Finland. I worked almost 40 years in a big Helsinki newspaper, first as a writer, then as a picture editor, and finally as a staff photographer. And in the side of that, I made my own stuff.
Could you tell us what made you grab your camera? Were there any inspiration, or what made you do it?
I really don't know or remember, but my father was an artist, a painter, and my mother was an art teacher, so there were images around in my childhood all the time. And then my father had an old Voigtländer camera. He liked to take pictures, but then I took the camera and started making snapshots, and then at that time my father finished photography. So.
Okay, and then you started basically picturing Helsinki, Finland?
No, not yet. Just
not yet.
Amateur stuff, anything.
Okay, and when did you start really doing your work in?
Well, I think it was in the beginning of '80s. I became a bit more seriously involved in photography, and I thought that I have to do something. And then I started to photograph people on the beaches and caravan sites and stuff like that. People spending their free time. And I did that for about whole 80s, till 87. And then I made an exhibition about that, and it was taken well. So the exhibition went to several places in Finland and some exhibitions abroad. So that was kind of the start.
Okay. And for those that know your images, it's all about everyday life. So yeah. Why did you get attracted by these kind of more normal and everyday situations?
I think I've always been a bit outsider or observer, and it was easiest to observe what's around you. What's around me was the normal middle class everyday life. So that started to interest me, and I didn't think that kind of exoticism or dramatic things would be my thing. So it was my life, the life around me.
Okay, and so also your family, your relatives. So
family, relatives, friends, social gatherings,
okay,
everything.
Okay, and what else? So in terms of family, what you also did some work on consumerism and
yeah. So well, then in the newspaper where I worked, there was a friend, also a writer, and we were very ambitious. We wanted to start to make photo reportages, big stories, and in the 80s, the newspaper started a magazine, a bi-monthly magazine, and we wanted to make story for that magazine, and first we did it on our own time and kind of sold the stories to the paper, and then they liked it in the magazine, so then we could do more stories on the newspaper's time and money. So in 90s we did a lot of stories about Finnish normal everyday life, and that became almost a brand in the magazine. We made dozens of the stories.
And so you're working basically in color. Was that always the case? Or?
Yeah. The first thing about the people at the beaches. That was black and white. But then in the beginning of 90s, so they was a British new color documentary, Martin Parr and Paul Graham and those people. So a color felt natural. If you want to describe how life looks, so color is important.
And also, so it's this school, this British school that influenced you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Also, the kind of humor you sometimes find, that is that also something that you liked about it?
Yeah, I've always liked humor in photography. I don't like humor photography, but I like a bit of humor in documentary work or photojournalism.
Okay, so that people don't really maybe understand immediately what's going on. Is that something that you're looking for in your images?
How would I explain? If there's something happening at the right, so I don't photograph that. I photograph, turn my camera to the left and photograph the reactions of people to what's happening.
Okay.
Because that's more important. Not to show straight everything, but a bit.
So more the sideshow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of framing, how important is it to pass your, well, how you see those scenes? And because sometimes, well, pretty often in your images you see a very special kind of framing where you have some legs being cropped off, or kind of some not straight shot, or and so how much is framing part of your message that you want
It's
to pass?
important, but I don't plan the framing that much. It comes spontaneously.
Okay.
But I want my pictures to be dynamic.
Okay.
And by cutting people in half and maybe showing just part of this and part of that, and that's interesting.
And just so you started basically in Finland, and there's also a big project of yours, Table Rock in Nebraska. Maybe you could tell us something about that.
Yeah, well, that was an assignment from the magazine. They wanted us to make a story about small American town or village, and they had America issue. It was election year, and our part of the magazine was to make this story of the small village, and we found Table Rock in Nebraska with 307 people, and that felt like right size to be able to understand what the village has eaten and what happens there, and we spent about 12 days there making the story, and then it was published, and we forgot about Table Rock. But then in 2009 I got email from a lady who had seen a picture of his father in Table Rock taken by me, and mailed me, why, what is this about, and then we started to think that maybe it would be nice to go back to Table Rock and make a follow-up story 60 years later, and we did, and it's Table Rock is a rural area, not rich, not poor, but very stable, so nothing much had happened. There were less people, there were 247 people, and they were maybe a little bigger than the first time, but that was it. And we did that story, and then I noticed that I have a lot of pictures from Table Rock, and if I don't do something with them, so the story will die when the magazine ends in the garbage bin. So I went back to Table Rock by myself, and I did that I think 6-7 times.
Okay.
From 2010 to 2015, and in 2016, and made more pictures, and then I published the book.
Okay. In such a small town, how were you received as kind of foreigners? Did people just...
We were very well received. The first time in '92, there was a postmaster, Ed Tomek, who took us, introduced us to everyone. So by the end of the day when we arrived, so half of the village knew who we are. And that was so easy when you have the access almost everywhere, and people are friendly. Americans are friendly always and nice.
And so you even slept at their homes, or so?
No, we slept at a motel close.
Okay. But you have images which are very close and very intimate.
Yeah. There are some families with whom I spent a lot of time, and I almost had a home at one family, so I could go on the sofa and rest if I was tired. And so it was nice. And when you have families with whom you are, so that gives you more people who accept you, and there's all the other people around.
So you would say you want to get to know the people that you photograph? Is that something that you're looking for, or is it something that, I mean, because you also have work where you seem to have more distance, but other work where you seem very close to the subjects that you photograph?
Of course, it's an advantage if you know the people, but then it's also might be a disadvantage too, because as a photographer, I see the people in a different way than they see. So it's very delicate what kind of pictures you take, and if you are very close to them, so that might affect your choices when you work.
Yeah, that was also a question. How do you keep that fresh look? I mean, just going around and still being attracted by this kind of everyday life situation. So how do you keep yourself motivated, and also this instinct to see those images that afterwards might seem some kind of strange or humorous?
If I have to be honest, so I don't know. Motivation is an important thing, especially when you are beginning a project, and if it's not assigned by a newspaper or media. If it is, so then of course you have motivation, because there's no choice, you have to do it. But if I do something for myself, so in the beginning, when I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I just I have a hunch that this is something I want to photograph, but don't know if there ever will be anything more. So that's always the difficult part, to be motivated to start and do and believe that gradually something great will happen.
So that's not really something that you feel, but you also did assignments and also press work. So you would say, is that something that you had to do just to basically earn money? Is it something that you enjoyed? You also you received several World Press Awards. So tell our listeners how do you feel about both, about assignments and your personal work?
Well, in the beginning, when I was a writer and photo editor, so all I did with my friend Ilkka was our own stories for the magazine. So that was, of course,
your own personal work.
Personal work that kind of mixed with.
But you decided what to do.
Yeah, exactly. But then at 2000, I started as staff photographer for the paper, and that was photographing everything, ice hockey and political events and so forth. So, but that was kind of work. But it was work that I liked. I didn't feel it's very personal, but photography is a nice profession if you have to work to live. So okay. I don't know what else I would do. So.
Okay. But I guess the mindset will be very different when you...
Yeah, of course. If as a staff photographer, when you do several portraits a week, so you can't keep your own style. You have to make a bit different kind of images.
Okay.
So
And now, so you're still doing press work? No.
I
No.
retired at 2019 from the
Okay.
paper, and then I thought that now I have all the time to do whatever I want. But freedom is a tricky thing, because if you have freedom to do anything, so it's very difficult.
So what are you doing
decide.
now with your freedom in terms of photography or?
I do photography, but when I retired, so I started there was nothing else to do, so I started to walk the streets of Helsinki, just record my city, my surrounding, and that I did for 3-4 years, and it ended up in a book that was published last year.
And I guess so now you're moving more from documentary to street photography. Would you call it street photography?
It is street photography, even if at the beginning I refused to see myself as a street photographer, because I had this idea that street photography is all the cliches with the red umbrella in the mist and the man with the brimmed hat, the silhouette, and playing with reflections, and like photography for its own sake. And I always thought that street photography should be a medium to tell something more than just about the video itself.
So people are very important in your work, I guess, and also still looking for the kind of humorous, strange, sometimes humorous work in street photography.
Yeah, well, I don't look for humor, but somehow it just comes in my
Comes back.
Okay. But people, I like to photograph people, but now for this new book, so also I photographed landscapes, city landscapes, and kind of dull landscapes, areas that don't yet have any identity, that are new or are in the making, or are just ugly.
Okay. Will it be another book?
I don't know. Hopefully not, because you only lose money when you make photograph books.
So that's currently your project, doing more street photography and then some landscapes,
Yeah, but
city landscapes.
yeah, but not very intensively for the moment, because I really don't know what I'm doing. I have some ideas, but they are still very.
Can't talk about them yet.
I could talk if I knew what to say, but there's just some very vague ideas, so difficult to talk about.
Okay. Anything else you would like to share about your work, about how you think, or?
Well, I always like to. Well, it's been already said that I like to photograph the normal, the everyday, and I think that airplanes.
Yeah, airplanes are.
I have noticed that
They are part of it. That gives it more the street feeling. Yeah.
But I think that the best I can imagine is that, and most rewarding is if I can make an interesting photograph of something that is almost nothing.
And for photographers that would like to start photography or are getting more involved into photography, are there anything you would like to tell them? And
Yesterday, a young guy came and asked me that, do I have any advice, because he would like to become a documentary photographer. I told him that I have one very good advice: don't, because it's a very difficult profession.
to live from it.
To live from it, yeah. Get a profession that makes money and then make photographs beside that.
Okay, and then really being true to yourself and photograph what you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Markus.
Thank you.
And See you around. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.